Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Murder, where I'll be talking about and reviewing an episode of Poirot, Murder, She Wrote, Diagnosis Murder, or Jonathan Creek. Today I'm looking at Jonathan Creek, the tailor's dummy, or as I like to call it, that time a parrot and a face mask solved the case. We begin the episode at a train station where these two are waiting for Carrie, who if you're in my age bracket may recognise from the Queen's nose. And on the way home, Louise swerves to avoid something, grinding the car to a halt. So they get out and witness Carrie's grandfather jump out of the window to his death. They rush home, the same house used in The Eyes of Tiresias. But yeah, he's super dead, Jim, and they can't understand why he would have jumped. So Louise investigates his room, where she finds a damning article about him, while outside, Carrie hears a weird noise and investigates, only to discover something shocking. Hey, it's Bill Bailey, who plans to teleport himself, but it's a different guy, which this kid points out, so Kenny shoves him in the pod, witnessed by these shady types. Donna here is interviewing Carla and Brendan, who show her a clip of a popular Japanese game show which they plan to recreate in the UK, which involves a husband hooked up to a lie detector, which turns the show into Jerry Springer. Claude and Louise confront Donna, calling her a murderer, but Donna don't care and threatens to sue them, so Claude says she'll eat her words. The dodgy blokes approach Kenny to strike a deal, while Jonathan reports Adam's sword-swallowing trick went wrong to Carla, and explains 3 women from the magic show have all walked out. Wait, make that 4. So Jonathan eavesdrops and hears about a meeting. Donna's at home, fluffing around, being spied on by Claude, while Jonathan gets frustrated with Carla's gimmicky photo shoot. Aww, a doggy! So Brendan steps in and makes them kiss, which is weird.
Sorted.
Is it though? The next evening, Donna checks into a hotel and does a bit of work before doing her nightly fluffing around routine, as the love child of Jason Voorhees and Ghostface holds her at gunpoint and tells her off for a shitty work, before making her rip up the Marco article and eat it. He pushes her head down, but in the mirror, she spies Claude lifting his mask. A knock at the door causes Claude to hide in the shower as the hotel manager checks on her, and then he tackles Claude, who Donna unmasks, but it's not Claude, and the mysterious man gets away. So she goes to Carla and Brendan and tells them what happened.
What happened in that bathroom wasn't physically possible.
Another showgirl quits, and Jonathan points out Carla's boobs before they go to the hotel and poke around the room, ending up in the shower, and Jonathan concludes, however the trick was pulled off, the hotel had to be in on it. One of the showgirls, and her pink leg warmers, goes to the meeting place and is taken in by Kenny. So Jonathan investigates and sees the woman get trafficked. What the fuck? Jonathan confronts Kenny, who seems oblivious to what he's just done, and tells him to rescue the women he's been selling, or he'll go to the police. The next day, Carla and her boobs makes a plan to just ask Claude how he pulled off the trick, but he denies even being at the hotel. So they talk to Louise instead, who says Donna is scum, and also denies any involvement in the trick. We get a little exposition dump where we find out that Marco was pretty housebound, but before that he flew all over the world, even though Carla seems to think he was afraid of flying, while Jonathan chats to Carrie, who wants him to do a trick, and then mentions Donna's article messed her grandfather up so much that he threw his parrot out of the window, which is what she found in the bushes that night. They go to Marco's room and Jonathan asks if the light was on that night, to which Carrie says no, and he notes some scratches on the keyhole and socks pinned together. Uh-oh, there's that Jonathan realization face again. After the pair leaves, Carrie rummages through her stuff, and waiting outside the theatre, Carla tells Jonathan that Donna was wearing a face mask when she was attacked, which busts the case open, and while this billboard hilariously malfunctions, Carla is grabbed and held at knife point by the sketchy dudes, who chuck them both in a trap. So Carla freaks out with some pretty bad acting.
Oh, Jonathan, we're gonna fall! Oh my god! The whole thing's gonna fall, look! On the spikes!
The sprinkler system goes off as Jonathan explains how Claude pulled off the stunt. With the hotel's help, the mystery man went into Donna's hotel room and held her at gunpoint, while on the other side of the mirror, Donna's stand-in Louise and Claude got into position, and when Donna's head was pushed down, the mirror slid back, allowing her to think the reflection was still there, and see Claude before the mirror slid back into place again. Jonathan says the whole thing doesn't matter. The real mystery is why Marco jumped. So they look at an old book signing.
Something about this guy that's not right. What is it?
and Carla finds reference to Marco being trapped in a burning aeroplane in his autobiography. Claude goes to dinner with Donna, who apologizes for her scathing article, so they bang? That's a bit random. Carrie empties the trash and finds something, while Carla tries out the lie detector for their new show, which catches her in a lie. And then Jonathan connects the dots and concludes Marco was murdered before he gets a panicked phone call from Carrie, who is grabbed by Louise. The pair pull up to the spot overlooking the house, where they see Carrie climb onto the ledge, so they rush below the window, where Carrie says Louise locked her in and took her medicine. And inside the house, both women accuse the other of being a nutcase. Claude shows up in time to hear Carrie tell everyone that Louise is the murderer, so time for Jonathan to explain everything. Stuff in Marco's room, as well as the book signing, pointed to Marco being blind, which Claude confirms they covered up to keep the business going. And the burning aircraft left Marco afraid of fire, not flying, which Louise took advantage of. She made a tape with fire sounds, which terrified him, and also Louise shouting encouragement to jump out of the window to safety onto cushions she was apparently putting out. But he wouldn't leave his parrot to burn, hence why he threw it out of the window, before jumping himself to his death. Louise tried to ditch the tape, but failed, and it was discovered by Carrie, so she tried to kill her too, and Claude is outraged. Louise says he was a dick and was bitter about how she was treated, so she yells at his painting, but everyone thinks she's nuts. As Carla wraps up filming the show, Brendan reveals the lie detector is rigged to randomly throw out a lie result 60% of the time. So Jonathan dobs him in to Donna. Okay, so I remember the murder of Marco, I remember Donna and the changing reflection, and I remember Bill Bailey selling women. But I do not remember them all being in the same episode, and I completely forgot about the lie detector show. There was a lot in this one. Let's first tackle the human trafficking subplot. It makes me very uncomfortable. It did back then and it does now, especially seeing as it wasn't resolved and it didn't even have anything to do with the story. It just inflated the runtime. So I would have cut the storyline entirely or extended it in a different episode if they wanted to tackle that topic. But here it felt like a disjointed add-on and I didn't like it. Speaking of disjointed add-ons, the forced romantic subplot between Jonathan and Carla was really boring. I don't like Carla anyway. I find her cranky and joyless. So to force a love connection when they have zero chemistry is kind of annoying. It worked with Maddie, who was clearly the better female character, but it fails with Carla and the whole thing is awkward. Now onto the two mysteries, and I'll start with Donna. I feel like I say this a lot with the show, but who would go to that much trouble? Don't get me wrong, it was a neat trick, but it's super lucky that Donna chose to move unnecessarily from one mirror to another so the trick could work. But whatever, it's not massively important, and at least it connected to the story, so well done for clearing a very low bar. Now Marco's murder is the star of the show, and dear God, it was chilling. I don't care how much of an asshole he was, no one deserved what Louise did to him. That poor guy must have been terrified, and to have to blindly put trust in his daughter, only to be betrayed and die in such a horrible way, and the fact Louise thought she was doing everyone a favour makes the whole thing even more twisted. We've had tape-related deaths on the show before, but this one is so cold-blooded. It's the malice behind it, the bitterness that lures Marco to jump through pure terror. And the fact Louise had a bullshit car accident just so she could watch is so messed up. Are automatic timer tape players a thing, or were they? The episode banks on the answer being yes, but I have my doubts. And even more unbelievable is how Carrie discovered the tape. Because let's face it, you can't get a teenager to empty the trash in their own house, let alone someone else's. We have one victim, Marco Bergman, who was driven to jump out of the window through pure fear, thanks to our killer, Louise Bergman, who was sick of being treated like a clothes hanger. Oh, boo-hoo, rich lady. So there you have it. That was the Tailor's Dummy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to keep investigating with me. Alternatively, feel free to check out my other YouTube channels. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and keep an eye out for clues.